questions have number 7. So we will take up the first question if you are okay to get started. Okay. So the question is, why are there 4 yugas, that is Satya, Treta, Dwapar and Kali Yuga? Why can't it be just only Satya Yuga where there is a higher chance for spiritual culture? Now the argument cannot be that that yuga does not allow atheists to flourish, because we see Hiranyakashipu was ruling during Satya Yuga and atheists were in prominence for a while in Satya Yuga.
Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Am I visible and audible?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we kind of dealt with this question last time, didn't we?
No, Prabhuji. I don't.
We
Does
did
anyone
not?
else remember?
That I explained about time and how time brings about destruction and how there are different qualities in different ages.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. Now I remember.
Yes,
Sorry.
Yeah, we did this.
Yes, sorry. Okay, then we can move on to the next question. This is question number 8. How to bring up kids in Krishna consciousness, especially when they go to public school or where kids in similar age groups are not present in the devotee community. Plus, for a new community, not every kid has the same background.
The responsibility of sharing knowledge with children and helping them understand that knowledge is on everyone, every human that the child interacts with. So if we consider the parents only to be responsible, or we feel that the parents have to bear the responsibility of raising a child in a particular way, then that kind of limits the possibilities that a child can have in life. So we are going to have other humans also who are needed to share their experiences and their reflections of life with the child. And whether we, unless and until we are living on a remote island somewhere or in a remote place where it is just we and our child, like just the mother, the parents, the mother, the father, and the child, the possibility that only the parents are going to interact with the child is very limited. Or we have to accept the fact that the child is going to see, observe, and interact and learn from many sources. So the human society has since so many generations understood this this need, or they have understood this duty towards the new generation. They have understood that they have to impart certain knowledge, or let us say experiences and understandings to the next generation. So we have to be proactive, and we have to try and see that the general community or the human society as a whole has certain values that they accept, based on which they live their lives. Now, typically, this is reflected through the constitution of any nation. So if we go through the constitution of any nation, they have certain specifically if the nation is performing its responsibilities based on the constitutional norms brought in a progressive way. So the constitutional norms are set up such that every individual in that particular community, in that nation, has an opportunity to explore their potential. And typically when constitutional laws are progressive, they base a lot of, or they provide a lot of resources for spiritual development too, which is true of any constitution of a progressive nation. There are shortcomings that every nation has. There are shortcomings that every community has. There are shortcomings that every person or human has. However, a progressive nation, a progressive society is always aware of the spiritual needs of their citizens, along with their physical and mental needs. So we have to read the constitution of the nation that we are in, and we have to see whether the constitution provides facilities for spiritual upliftment. If we feel that there are certain norms that need a little more embellishments, or they need a little more, let us say, fine-tuning, then we should have healthy debates amongst the members of the civil society, the members of the society that understands the nuances, the finer qualities of human existence. And if the civil society finds our expositions or our explanations interesting, then most probably they would be included in the constitutional norms too. Now, is it possible that we could also live as a elite or as an individual unit within a nation? Yeah, there's a possibility. However, it is easier to have to be a part of a bigger nation, a bigger community, because the resources available are much more. Now, if we are going to have a community established across nations, we have to accept the fact that as citizens of a particular nation, we have to follow the norms of that nation. We have to live according to the constitution of that nation, of that country, of that tract of land. We have to accept those norms. So if we are living in America, then we have constitutional facilities, constitutional, we have rights towards proper education and towards which provides us freedom of expression and freedom of practice, just as in India too. We have these, and these are enshrined in our constitution. So we should, as citizens of the country, first of all, we have to be of a progressive country. We have to be aware of these resources that we have at hand, and then try to use those resources to the best of our ability. Now, coming with that understanding, now understanding that we have such a huge framework, or we have such a huge, we have such immense resources available to us. Now we may try to see how to implement it on an individual level. So if we want to raise our children in Krishna consciousness, then we explain to our, first of all, we understand how we can express that within the framework of our constitution, how we can express our practice of Krishna consciousness within the framework of our constitution. And then we also let our children understand how they can also express that. If we feel that somehow or the other we do not have sufficient facilities, then we have to be sure that actually we do not have those resources or facilities for for expressing our or for practicing for expressing the freedom to practice our faith. We have to be sure about it. This takes a lot of effort, or it takes a lot of conviction to be able to understand what is the power or what is the facility that the Constitution has given us in terms of the freedom of expression of our faith. And at the same time, we have to be aware that this facility has been given to each and every citizen in this country. So we cannot encroach on someone else's faith, just as they cannot encroach upon our faith. Now, if you understand this very clearly, then it is not going to be as let us say difficult to help our children understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, to help our children understand how, although we interact with so many other communities, every community is given the right to practice their faith, which is their constitutional right. So let us try and approach this need that we feel through the wonderful facilities that are enshrined within our Constitution. Is that all right?
Are there any follow-up questions? Okay. We can take one more question from the document, and then we will go through the chat of some questions. So this question is regarding the position of chocolate. Is it allowed or not for devotees? We have seen in devotee houses kids being fed chocolate, and for those who have given it up or are bringing up kids in that way, that is without eating chocolate, it is an awkward thing. How to address this?
There definitely has been some, let us say, strictures, some norms about chocolate than the law book of ISKCON, the ISKCON law book. And there has been a discussion on those particular statements in the ISKCON law book about chocolate. I think the ISKCON law book states that Srila Prabhupada on a couple of occasions has expressed in those times that since chocolate has certain chemicals, I think berberine and others, chocolate and cocoa, he expressed that they have these constituents, chemical constituents that bring about an intoxicating effect on the human consciousness when they're consumed. There is this intoxicating effect, and therefore he felt that, or he said that we should not be eating chocolate. And there has been discussions on this, and I'm not really sure if this statement within the ISKCON law book has been amended. As far as I understand, maybe it is not. However, I could be wrong. That maybe it has been amended. It is a fact that chocolate in many forms is being consumed as sanctified food, and it is also a fact that many people have observed, many people in the devotee community have observed that preparations of chocolate have been offered to the deity in various forms. It could be cocoa, chocolate, or derivatives of that. So I would suggest that maybe as members of the ISKCON community, wherever you are, you could ask the community to have a discussion on this and see whether there could be any conclusive understanding which could just then be put forth to the GPC, and let us see what happens from there. So succinctly, Srila Prabhupada was concerned about the intoxicating effect of certain chemicals within chocolate. Obviously, some people also feel that in today's times there are so many other food preparations which have nowadays, because there's so many different kinds of newer ways to cook and to bake. There are newer products coming out, and some of them may have chemicals which have the effect of intoxication on us when we consume it. So these are all subject matters of discussion, and through such discussions, a particular community can decide. Individually, you can decide whether it is what would you want to do based upon the statement in the ISKCON law book. The statement was put in, I think, in the 1980s, or when the ISKCON law book was been, or maybe the 1970s. I'm not really sure when, but it's been there for quite some time. Maybe in the 1990s also. I'm not really sure which era it was put in. So there can be arguments that we still consume so many other things that have intoxicants, or maybe we should include other preparations also within the framework of this law or the statement that it should not be consumed. So all of this discussion can happen, and every community can come to some kind of conclusion and put forth to their GBC, and then it can be taken up in the GPC meeting. Till that happens, till that time, on an individual level, you can you can decide what you want to consume, and till the time we have something more specific on this discussion, if someone feels that they want to use that statement from the ISKCON law book, they can definitely use it as praman, as evidence. And if some others feel that there should be a discussion on this, then it's their individual call. And hopefully there would be no name calling, or there would be no hard feelings amongst the devotee communities because of this. These are certain, let us say, directions or directives given to our community as to how we could live a simple life, or a life based on simplicity. So hopefully this would not cause hard feelings to arise within devotees because of opposing opinions. We could definitely have discussions in a civil way, and then till the time we have something more clear on these issues, we can always have our own individual our individual takes on this, our individual practices on this. Hare Krishna.
Are there any follow-up questions on this topic? Okay, I will pick up one question from the chat box. This came from Radha Kunda Mataji. Mataji, do you want to ask that the question about Shankaracharya's philosophy?
Is it okay, Prabhu? Can I ask my question?
Yeah, that's good.
Which is very important for me. Hare Krishna, Rohinipriya Prabhuji, Dhanyavad Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhu. Prabhuji, actually, my question has two parts. The first part is one thing is, I have heard that we have to surrender to Krishna voluntarily in our lives, not by force, right? And but Krishna, even in Sadhaka Bhakta's life, actually, he puts us in such a situation, so many distressful situations that at some point of time, actually, he doesn't give any other alternative except to surrender to him. So we will surrender to him, basically. So then how it is considered as a voluntary surrender to Krishna, Prabhuji? Because I have heard that in devotees' lives, even in Sadhaka Bhakta's devotees' lives, Krishna orchestrates everything. So if we want us to surrender to him, he puts us in such a distressful condition that we have to surrender to Krishna at that particular point. Then it is then by force Krishna is making us surrender to him, right? In that case, where there is a question of voluntary surrender to Krishna, Prabhuji. And then another question is another part of this question is there are so many moments in our lives that in moments of many hundreds and moments that we have completely surrendered to Krishna in that particular moment. Basically, it might be out of distress, it might be love for him or something like that. There are so many moments in our lives that we will say to Krishna that Krishna, I don't want anything except you. I am surrendering this moment particularly to you only, Krishna. I don't want anything else except you. But Krishna, why don't he accept us? Because he says that, even in Srimad Bhagavatam, previous, 2 days back, we were reading that if any devotee, I think 6th canto of Srimad, any devotee surrenders to him and say to Krishna that, okay, Krishna, I don't want anyone, I just want to surrender to you, then he accepts us. And even in Lord Ramachandra's case, Vibhishan came. And Lord Ramachandra, what did he say? He just said, one time if you say this, I will accept you. But even after telling so many times, Krishna is not accepting. I'm not able to understand actually. And these two actually questions are actually roaming in my mind, Prabhu. I just want to hear from you.
Thank you. So the first question is about is the ability to be attracted to Krishna because of a free will, or is it because we have no choice? And if there is no choice, then actually it seems that it is not free will, but it is just brute force. And the second question is that it seems that when we surrender to Krishna, still there are so many ways we feel that that surrender is not being, or the shelter is not completely there. So are we always going to be tested in that way? Or will there be a lot of tests in our lives? I'm trying to paraphrase your questions. Is that correct, the way I put it? The two questions?
Yes, correct, Prabhu. Okay. No, why is delaying in accepting actually when we are actually want to surrender to him? Why is not that easily accepting? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here 500 years back, he liberated everyone basically. Even the animals got liberated, right? So when we want to surrender to him also, it means that he doesn't have faith. I don't know. So I just, whatever you said is right.
Okay. Well, so for the first query, we have to understand that Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. So everything actually is being orchestrated by him. It's not that, he is unaware of any situation. Why is that? Because he's the supreme absolute truth. So within his orchestration, within what is already being handled by Krishna, he has created a facility for us to express our free will. How is that possible? It is possible, I can put up, or the government can put a person in prison and they can put that person in chains. However, the government cannot control what the person sees or hears or eats or breathes. That is not within the government's control. They may try to do that. They may try to control the airflow within that room, or they may try to, but it takes a lot of efforts. So free will is always there. Plus, whether we want to accept what conditions have been put on us or not, physically, mentally, emotionally, that is still a free will. No one can emotionally force us to be having certain emotions or expressing certain emotions. So free will is not just on the physical plane. There is the expression of free will in various ways. On all the levels of existence that we have, we can see the existence of free will. At the same time, this is happening under the supervision of Krishna. Krishna's eye, or Krishna is always aware. Krishna's eye is always there. He is always aware of things. Maya dhakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. So under my supervision, he says, all animate and inanimate objects function. So where is the facility of free will? The facility of free will is whether we can surrender to the Supreme Absolute Truth as Krishna, or we can take shelter of the Supreme Absolute Truth in the form of his material energy. Both are the Supreme Absolute Truths. The material energy is also an expansion of Krishna. So it is also absolute in the sense there is no shortcomings in the abilities of material energy. Material energy is fully equipped to function as material energy. Similarly, the liberated soul is fully equipped to function as liberated soul. There is no shortcoming or there is no limitations in a liberated soul. However, a conditioned soul somehow, by this freak of illusion, somehow or the other, illusion is basically a little illogical. For example, going into a dark room and considering a rope to be a snake is an illusion. However, this is what happens in people's lives. It could be due to fear or the survival instinct or whatever, anxiety, previous experiences. Based on all of that, sarparajyonya, one can consider a rope in a dark room to be a snake. So this is conditioned state. It should not happen like that. If a person is not fearful, if a person is confident that they could survive any kind of attack on them because they are so potent, they'll not be fearful of a dark room with a rope seemingly being a snake. They may not be afraid of it because even if it were a snake, if they're potent enough, let's say if they have nectar flowing through the body, there's no danger. So where does that illusion come from? The illusion comes from the belief that one is mortal, the belief that one can be hurt, the belief that one is lacking in something. So because of this illusion, there is conditioning. We are called as conditioned souls. Now, once we are convinced of our existence as immortal souls, Satchidananda, nothing can hurt us. Then we are confident. Hence, a liberated soul is perfectly satisfied, is perfectly peaceful, a liberated soul. So your first question was that where is the facility for expression of free will? Because ultimately we do have to surrender to Krishna. Well, those who have accepted illusion to be their real existence, for them, surrender unto Krishna seems to be the topmost reality. For somebody who's never ever been conditioned, there is no desire or there is no need to feel that I have to surrender to someone or I have to take shelter of anyone, because they're already sheltered. For example, if we are caught in pouring rain, very heavy rain, then we look for shelter. Then we look for some place where we can protect ourselves from the rain. However, if we are already under a shelter, we just look at the rain and feel comfortable. We do not have any feelings of wanting to look for any shelter because we are already sheltered. So the feeling of having to surrender to someone is only when we are in the conditioned state. In the liberated state, there is no need to feel that we have to surrender to someone because we are already sheltered. We are already in the shelter of this existence of pure love, Krishna Priya. Hence, there is no force there. There is no feeling of being pushed, just as if we are safe from the rain under a roof, then we do not feel that somebody is pushing us or we do not feel uncomfortable. However, when we are out in the rain, then we feel uncomfortable and we feel that, oh, this rain is forcing us to take shelter. Hence, it is our misconceptions that give rise to such feelings. If we understand philosophy properly, then we understand that in the liberated state, there is no understanding of feeling of being forced, because one feels love. And when one has love, one is comfortable. As a sadhaka, we may have to apply some force within our lives, because that is what sadhaka means. A sadhaka means a practitioner. A practitioner is someone who needs to practice. When there is a need to practice, there has to be some discipline, there has to be some force. When one becomes a siddha, when one has achieved our target and has achieved our goal, then in achievement, there is only comfort. There is a feeling of peace, tranquility. There is no more any pushing, any force there. So, as sadhakas, we may feel this dichotomy. We may feel this being, in a place where we are being pushed. That is because we have made the choice of being a practitioner. We want to practice devotional service. Now we have to, put in some let us say, work in doing it. In the liberated state, it is spontaneous. So we do not feel that we are working, because it is we are doing that which we like. So that is an explanation for the first query. The second query about why does it take so much time, or why doesn't Krishna reciprocate immediately? He does. Krishna is always reciprocating immediately. However, we have to consider our own situation, whether we can handle, or we are having the ability to absorb Krishna's reciprocation or not. Whenever one is in distress in this conditioned world, one is seeking Krishna. And a person who seeks Krishna out of distress is actually a sukritinaha. Sukritinaha means a good person, a pious person. There are always chances that when the distress is gone, the person may not feel that pushing to take shelter of Krishna. So whenever there are good times, there is a possibility that feeling relieved, we may not be as aware of Krishna as we were when we were in a distressed condition. Although Krishna is available in both the states of existence. So if we introspect, maybe we will find that our capacity to hold Krishna's reciprocation is maybe not fully developed. Therefore, we have to develop that capacity. Sometimes in poetic language, it is said that Krishna is always giving us love. But if our heart has holes in it, then how can we hold on to that love with a heart full of holes? So doubts, confusion, anxiety, fear, stress, these are all holes. And with these holes within our consciousness, it is difficult to store Krishna's love. The day our heart becomes healed with confidence, with determination, with strong faith, nishtha, then we'll be able to see that Krishna's love is always around us and we'll be very peaceful.
Thank you so much. Wonderful, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So how to understand Lord Ramachandra is more merciful than Krishna, Prabhuji? Because just one time Vibhishan came and he just accepted it, if you say one time.
Lord Ramachandra is as merciful towards Vibhishan as Krishna is merciful towards Sudama. Lord Ramachandra is as merciful towards Hanuman as Krishna is merciful towards Arjuna. So we have the Lord reciprocating with his devotees in all his various forms. So it would be good if we can see how the Lord reciprocates with the devotees in various forms. We should not feel that in one form he reciprocates in one way and in another form he reciprocates in another way. What we have to see is that in one form he is reciprocating with Vibhishan, in another form he is reciprocating with Yudhishthir, or is reciprocating with Bhima, or is in one form he is reciprocating with Varuna, and in another form he is reciprocating with Indra, or is reciprocating with Varuna in another way, Varunadev. So we have to see that. We have to try to give up the ease with which we accept impersonalism. Impersonalism means trying to see that we see when we say that the Lord is behaving differently with different people, and therefore the Lord in one form is a little more merciful than the other form. This is also a form of impersonalism, because we think that all the devotees of the Lord are the same. No, the devotees of the Lord are also having their individual existences. And this is personalism. This is personalistic philosophy. So the way Krishna reciprocates with Sudama, Sudama Brahman would be different than the way he reciprocates with Arjuna, the prince. The way Lord Ramachandra reciprocates with Bharata, his own brother, would be a little different from how he reciprocates with Vibhishan, or even with Shatrughna, another brother. So these are all personal relationships. So we should try to avoid this tendency to consider that all the devotees are the same, and therefore the Lord's mercy should be the same in any form to all the devotees. All right?
Thank you, Prabhu. Very wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you so much for all the help. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. I will pick one question from the document. So this question is, can one go to the spiritual world from the body of a demigod? We hear demigods waiting to take birth in the family of devotees or coming to earth. They glorify the earth due to quote-unquote ideal conditions for practicing devotion. Can't they remember Krishna at the time of death on the heavenly planets and go? In fact, they get more association of elevated personalities like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma or Narad Muni or even Lord Vishnu. For example, Lord Vishnu personally comes to receive the offering from Lord Indra's sacrifice. So is the question?
The facility to become liberated is available in all phases of life and in on every planet in the universe and in all universes. So yes, there are many living entities in the heavenly planets that become liberated and go to the spiritual world. In fact, if we read the Puranas, we find that typically a lot of stories in the Puranas say that how a person who has been very good in human life gets birth in the heavenly planets, and after that they become liberated. So there are a lot of references, and maybe we have not heard about them. So yes, one can definitely go back to the spiritual world from the heavenly planets too, and there are a lot of references of people who have done that in the Puranic stories, in the Puranic references, Puranic as we say. Now, there are statements that the demigods are eager to take birth in human families. The reason being, they feel it is much more practical for them, or it is much more, let us say, easy for them to do that. You see, demigods have immense facilities. Just as if you are extremely intelligent, especially in math, there is a possibility, and you have done your graduation and post-graduation in math, just taking an example, then it would be very easy for you to clear the high school math tests. And if the government brings in a law that anyone who clears high school math test would immediately get the highest salary, then we'll find that the graduates and postgraduates would also want to come and sit for high school math tests. So this is how we have to understand why demigods want to come to the earthly planetary system and want to practice spiritual life as humans. They are all very much well versed, or they are very adept at spiritual practices. Therefore, they are called as devatas. We call them as demigods in the English language. In the Sanskrit language, in the Puranic literatures, they are called as devatas. Devata basically means worshipable personality. Deva is one who surrendered to the Supreme Lord. There can be various shades of surrender, but that is what Deva means. Deva means superior potency. So devatas are those that represent purity. So devas are very powerful beings. They are worshipable beings for all of us humans. Then the devas, for them, the practice is a little more austere than for humans. Why is that? Because the lifespan being more, they have to be very careful that they live their entire life and they practice their entire life. They practice those principles that are healthy for their spiritual growth. Just as sometimes we as humans, we feel that if Krishna could immediately give us liberation, the demigods also feel like that. So compared to humans, they have a longer lifespan. Hence, coming here in the human form, they feel that they could achieve the same goal in a shorter time. Now, time is relative. For the demigods, it is also 100 years that they live, and we as humans also live for 100 years. However, when they look upon humans, they see that because of the relativity of time, as demigods, they feel that, in the human form, it is much easier. However, when they come down to the human form, their consciousness will be according to the human plane. But this is the nature of this material world. We always feel that the grass is greener on the other side. Secondly, the demigods, the devatas in the heavenly planets, their experiences of the miseries of life is very limited compared to the experiences of miseries on the human plane. Hence, trying to call out for the shelter of Krishna in distress is limited in the upper planetary systems as it is here. So sometimes this could also be, a perception that, oh, if I were more distressed, then maybe I could take shelter of Krishna. Or just see how those who are more distressed than us, they find it easier to take shelter of Krishna. So that is another, perspective that the devatas have. However, both the devatas and humans, when we use our intelligence, we realize that as soon as you are born into a particular species of life, then the conditionings of that species of life applies to you. So if the demigods come down as humans also, now they will be functioning as humans and not as demigods. Still, from their point of view, it appears to be very lucrative. And it is understandable. They are also aspiring to become liberated from material conditioning. So we have to understand things in context. We do not have to, take things out of context. Sometimes you may take it out of context. Oh, even the demigods want to come here as humans, so we have more facility, or we have greater benediction. There's no need to waste our time with those feelings. Rather, we would kind of just understand that demigods have their journey to complete, and we have our journey to complete. Occasionally, we may kind of feel inspired that, oh, as humans, because the demigods feel that humans have a better status, the devatas feel like that we humans have a better status. So maybe we have a better status because they say like that, because that is how they look at us. However, let me focus on my journey in life. So that is more important. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Are there any follow-up questions on this topic? Okay. Quick time check. We have about 7 minutes remaining. Shall I take one more question, Prabhu?
I'm not sure. You let me know.
Okay, I'll read this question and we can go from there. How do we understand Indra repeatedly making mistakes? For example, he tried to destroy Vrindavan and Lord Krishna crushed his pride. But again, we see Indra opposing Lord Krishna in the pastime of Lord Krishna, desiring to take Parijata plant from heavenly planet for his wife Satyabhama. And this was after the killing of Bhaumasur. And Indra not liking it. Or in the past, Indra kidnapped the sacrificial horse of Prithu Maharaj. Does he not learn the lesson? And if he did, why is he repeatedly making those mistakes?
The lifespan of Indra is very huge. Typically, Indra and the other devatas, they live for an entire life of Manu. Typically, if I'm not wrong, because with every Manu, there is a change of the administrative demigods, there is a change of the administrative devatas. So one Manvanta is practically 71 Chaturyugas. One Chaturyuga is about according to Srila Prabhupada, it is about 43 million odd years, 43 million 20 or 200,000, something like that. Now, if Indra is living for so long, and if according to this, maybe, he has made mistakes for a total of 20 days or 40 days or 100 days or 200 days. Why do we feel that he is doing it repeatedly? He is doing it occasionally. The mistakes of Indra, from his point of view, from the point of view of his lifespan, those are occasional mistakes. So we should be very careful when we try to say that he is doing it repeatedly. Secondly, nowhere has Indradev claimed that he is perfect. Nowhere has the scriptures said that Indradev is perfect. The scriptures clearly state, and Indradev also knows, that they have a physical existence as spirit souls, and because of certain desires, they have a material existence here in this material world. So in this material world, making mistakes is there. What is important is that after Indradev has made the mistake, he repents. He tries to improve. He tries to be better the next time. That would be a good lesson for all of us to understand, that if we make mistakes, then it is good to repent and try to be better, be a better person then on. And then the second lesson could also be that it is better to avoid mistakes, because then we don't have to waste time in repentance. So these are the lessons that we can learn. From all other points of view, Indradev is a very worshipable personality. And we understand that because Indradev also has a material existence, mistakes happen. Is that okay?
Thank you, Prabhu. Are there any Mataji has a comment? Is it okay to ask Radha Kunda Mataji? Go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanwad Pranam. Prabhuji, actually, my question is regarding Shankaracharya philosophy, because we have students here who are very new to Bhagavad Gita, and so how to convey them in an easy way about Shankaracharya philosophy, because my understanding is Shankaracharya emphasized on the authenticity of the Vedas, but on impersonalism more. But at the end, finally, he said, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. So, how to convey the new students about the Shankaracharya philosophy, that it's not right?
Shankaracharya ji is a very worshipable Acharya. He taught us in so many ways to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And amongst his teachings, one of the teachings is about impersonalistic philosophy, which was meant to uproot the nihilistic philosophy known as Buddhism. In those days, this nihilism was being practiced in ways that was in practice, the practice of nihilism, or the practice of this Shunyavad philosophy, was not really healthy for spiritual upliftment. So he found it very helpful to propagate impersonalism, and that uprooted the Buddhist philosophy. Yes, Bauddham uchyate prachannam. That is the reason why he appeared. Prachannam Bauddham uchyate. To uproot that philosophy. So
how to refute even Shankaracharya's philosophy, Prabhu?
we don't have to refute Shankaracharya's philosophy. We just have to reveal the real teachings of Shankaracharya. We just focus on this teaching of Shankaracharya. The real teachings of Shankaracharya is where he inspires us to surrender to Krishna. That is why he has so many wonderful ashtakas offering service to the Supreme Lord. It's not just the Bhaja Govinda prayers, there's so many others. In fact, the Jagannath Ashtakam that we sing is also given to us by Shankaracharya.
Okay.
And there's absolutely no impersonalism in that. There's so many other prayers that Shankaracharya has given.
Very nice, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the help. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hey Krishna, so we are at time. Probably I will set up more sessions again, depending on how the programs are here. Is that okay? To cover the rest of the questions?
Sure, yes.
So once again, thank you so much, Prabhu, for taking time to answer these questions. We will continue this in a follow-up session. Thank you once again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktivriksha ki jai.